There's a trend right now where performance influencers are almost bragging about the fact that they hate their workouts. They don't feel like going, they don't enjoy it, they have to force themselves every single time. They still show up 5, 6, 7 days a week. And that's being framed as discipline, as what success looks like, so what it takes. I want to show you 2 things today, okay? How they're actually able to do that so that you can emulate it if you want, and how some people, like me, show up just as consistently without ever hating it and feel genuinely good about it instead. Because both realities are real and they do not produce the same outcome.
You're listening to The Science and Spirit of Happy, a podcast unpacking the sustainable dreams theory.
G'day, y'all! This is a focus episode, so it's a very specific topic that I'll be covering that people have been asking about. So today, I'm talking about how people go to the gym 5, 6, 7 days a week consistently, because there are 2 ways, okay? One has been popularized recently, and I think it really needs to be called out. Some people are forcing their health habits and hating every minute of it. And some people are in the groove and loving almost every minute of it. But take it from me. I wake up at 5 a.m., go to the gym 5 mornings a week, train with trainers, cold plunge, do breath work and magnesium soak, and I go to yoga 5 nights a week. Okay, it's mostly yin, stretching and restorative, with 1 vinyasa class a week to keep up my skill. So I'm not overtraining, but the reality is I'm hitting up 10 training sessions a week. And let's just be honest, there's always gonna be some resistance to change and growth, okay? I'm not gonna lie to you, but I would personally not be capable of foreseeing my way through something I loathed, okay? And I don't think that's a flex. Consistency from a good place and consistency from a bad place do not produce the same outcome. One is narrow success in an isolated goal, getting to the gym. The other is whole life success, being fulfilled and actually happy in the process, okay? That's my lane. I'm Lauralee Lothbrooke. People call me the Healing Meets High Performance Boss because I teach people how to build what I call a sustainable dream. A life where success doesn't just happen, it actually fits. Physical health is a non-negotiable part of that. But where things get distorted is how people think consistency is built. Performance influencers have collapsed it into one idea: do it no matter how it feels. That's only one version of consistency. And in my view, it's a dangerous one. Because once you build success through self-coercion, it's very hard to change course. And it's very easy to lose yourself completely in the process. So, 5 steps to becoming someone who shows up consistently without forcing yourself through your life. Step 1, treat your internal response as data. Okay, not as the whole truth like some healing circles would have you believe, but not as irrelevant either, like the performance coaches recommend. There are 2 sides to reality. On one side, the linear, mental, and physical, okay? The science, the strategy, the data, what's proven to work. This is where how you get fit and what successful people do and just follow the plan messaging come from, okay? It's real. But on the other side, there's the emotional and energetic layer, okay? This is how something feels. This is how your nervous system responds, whether it gives you anxiety, dread, and shutdown, or joy, flow, and focus. That's not fake. That's not fluff. That is a whole half of reality. So if you want to go to the gym, or you try to go for a run, and you feel anxiety, resistance, dread, that matters, okay? External data says training is good for your health. Internal data is saying your system is responding negatively to it. Both are real, okay? Most people skip this step. They either decide that only the external data matters, and they start overriding themselves. Or they decide that only the internal data matters, and they're not cut out for this. This is actually the first key to understanding how the hustle and grind crew can be so consistent. They're trusting someone else's data over their own. They're dismissing one half of reality, and the cost shows up everywhere else in their lives. Which brings me to the second step. You have to fix the fit before you try and force consistency. Okay, not everything works for everyone. Not every environment works. Not every type of training works. Not every intensity or schedule works. You have to remember that data often looks at averages, and averages can rarely tell you much about an individual. So before you try to be disciplined, you have to ask, is this actually the right thing for me? Because if the fit is wrong, consistency will always feel like force. The other possibility is that the reason it doesn't fit is because your internal shape, the shape of your patterning, your emotional responses, your nervous system capacity, it just doesn't fit that activity. This also doesn't get better with force. This is where healing comes in as a necessary part of high performance, which brings me to the third step. This is where a lot of people get stuck, okay? It's addressing your patterning. Because when you see someone who is seemingly pushed through and is now living an awesome, new, healthy life, they've almost always just figured out some of the healing, growing, and strengthening steps I teach on their own, intuited it. You can go and you can try and figure it out intuitively, but the people who do it are outliers. And I show you step by step how to reshape yourself in my membership. Because sometimes it's not the workout. It's your nervous system. And if your system registers exercise as a threat, then of course you're going to resist it. Of course you're going to avoid it. Of course it's going to feel like something you have to push through every single time. What's worse is that when you avoid it, your brain registers this as an effective way to manage that stress. It creates a reinforcement loop. I made a video on it. I'll link it here because I think it's important. Because if you don't address that, you'll either stay inconsistent or give up entirely. Which brings me to the fourth step, setting yourself up to win. I define discipline very differently than your average performance influencer. Discipline is not forcing yourself. That's willpower. Discipline is setting yourself up to win, okay? That's high performance. It's structure. It's design. It's understanding your tendencies and building systems that work with them. For example, I am a hardcore chiller. Left to my own devices, I would choose to be at home with my family or stop short, okay? But I hate wasting money. I love spending money, but I hate wasting it. So I sign up for classes I can't get out of without a fee. That's discipline, not willpower. It's design. Okay, same with running. I started running when I couldn't run a block without stopping, okay? After my baby was born, I was running a half marathon a week with him in the stroller. When I started, I went to a 6K loop around a lake. Once I was in, I had to finish. Now I map out a run at a length that I want and I run the same routes at the same time. So my body almost follows through automatically. That's not forcing myself, okay? That's reinforcing my weak points, which brings me to the fifth step, routine. People think going to the gym 5 days a week and yoga 5 nights a week is insane. Do you know why I do it? Because it's easier to go every day. I used to go to the gym 3 times per week and yoga 3 times per week. It felt like work. It felt like chaos, okay? So I switched to 5. It's easier because it's automatic. At that time of the day, it's just what I do. It also works into my bookending technique where you start and finish your day with a strategic action, which makes everything in between so much more manageable. In the membership, I make tools and therapies to bookend the day with, and I'm currently making therapies you can use while working out, so you get 2 birds with 1 stone. But P.S., routines don't make your life rigid. Disorganized people think they do. They actually make it easier. James Clear said in Atomic Habits that people with routines are actually the ones who have the freedom for spontaneity because all their daily, weekly, monthly tasks are taken care of. I couldn't agree more, okay? Routines feel like freedom to me. And that's coming from someone who's traveled the world for my entire adult life outside of university. So here's the final bonus step. It's not really a step in and of itself. It kind of fits into 4, but this is what makes consistency sustainable long term. It's having 2 standards, a bare minimum, okay, for when life gets real, and an ideal, what you'd love to reach. My bare minimum for running is I start running and walk if I'm not feeling it. I have bare minimums for the gym that give me an extra half hour sleep if I really need it. I have bare minimums for yoga so I don't feel like I failed if I happen to miss a class. Because this is about the long game, not whether you knocked it out of the park for 1 week. This is what keeps you from feeling like a failure. And feeling good about your habits will keep you coming back for more. It will also make your motions more beneficial for your body when you do. So when you look at people who are consistent, yes, some of them are forcing it. They override how they feel. They push through everything. They rely on willpower, and they can get isolated results that way. But there's another way to build consistency. It's about becoming the best version of yourself, living your best life. One where you get holistic results. One where you become the person for whom success is inevitable. And in that version, you most certainly don't need to fight yourself every day. Because real consistency, true discipline, isn't built by forcing yourself to do things you hate. It's built by understanding yourself, working with yourself, and designing your life in a way that makes follow-through easier than not. And that's what I teach. Because once you've developed into her, you don't have to push yourself to show up. You just do. So please like and subscribe to this video if you like this content, not only because you'll get the new content when it drops, but it also helps this content find its way to the people who need it most. I'll see you next time, guys.